Hey there, today I'm going to be showing you some amazing recipes using canned biscuit dough. All of these recipes are very simple to throw together, so I hope you enjoy it. But let's head to my kitchen and let's start cooking. We are starting out today by making this phenomenal enchilada casserole. So I have 1 can of biscuits. I'm just using the Pillsbury home-style biscuits, and I'm going to cut each biscuit into about 8 pieces. Over to my stove, I have a pound of some ground beef that I'm going to be cooking up. Once it is through cooking, you're going to want to drain out any excess grease and add about 1.5 tablespoons of some taco seasoning with about 1/4 cup of water and 4 ounces of some diced green chilies. I just use a can of that. If you don't care for green chilies, you could use jalapenos as a substitute. But after I stirred that to combine for about a minute or two, I went over to my 9x13 baking dish. I sprayed it with nonstick spray, and then I added our can of biscuits that we just cut into smaller pieces. Now I'm pouring 10 ounces of some red chili enchilada sauce on top, and I'm going to stir this all together and let the enchilada sauce coat the biscuits. After I added the ground beef and green chili mixture to the top of the biscuits, and I tried to spread it out as even as possible, you'll want to add a cup of some Colby Jack cheese to the top. This is going to bake on 350 for about 35 to 45 minutes, or until the biscuits are completely cooked through. After it was out of the oven, I just topped mine with some jalapenos, iceberg lettuce, fresh avocado. Seriously, whatever you want to top your casserole with, go ahead and do it. This meal is so simple to throw together, and it is absolutely delicious. When I say you need to make these maple donut bars, I am not joking. They are ready in less than 15 minutes, and they taste like you got them from a bakery. They are that good. So I have my can of home-style biscuits right here, and I'm just going to be shaping them into kind of ovals. If you do want to make these traditional donut circles, you can do that, but I really just like how simple it is to shape these into ovals. In my large pot, I have about 2 cups of some hot canola oil. You do want to make sure your oil is hot before you start putting your dough in, but I just did this in batches of 2 to ensure that the donuts don't overcrowd, and I cooked these donuts for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side. Once they were through cooking, I just removed them to a plate lined with some paper towels. Now that I have all of my donuts cooked, I'm going to start on the maple glaze. So into this little pot, I added 1/4 cup of some butter, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and about 3 tablespoons of some milk. I'm going to let this simmer on my stove for about 5 minutes. I did stir it very frequently though, until it looked something like this. Now I'm going to remove it from the stove and set it on my countertop. Now you'll want to add in about 1 teaspoon of some vanilla extract. Give this a really good whisk. For the powdered sugar, I'm adding in a total of 2 cups of powdered sugar. I did add it in 1/2 cup at a time though, and then every time I added in 1/2 cup, I whisked it. If it does need a little bit more milk, you could certainly add in more milk. I added in about 3 tablespoons more milk, just so it wasn't so thick. Once your glaze looks something like this, you're ready to start dipping your donuts in it. So I'm just grabbing a donut, dipping it into the glaze, and then setting it to the side. It is as simple as that. These maple bars are so unbelievably good. When I served them to my husband, he was completely shocked that I made them out of a can of biscuits. He just didn't think it was possible because they were that good. And then the maple glaze on the top is so amazing. It's personally my favorite maple glaze ever. Now we're making this bubble up pizza, and it is the perfect lunch or dinner. I'm starting with 2 cans of biscuits. You're going to cut each of these biscuits into about 4 to 5 smaller sized pieces. I have my round casserole dish right here, or you could use a 9x13 baking dish. I'm just spraying it with plenty of nonstick spray to ensure that nothing sticks while it's baking. So now I'm just adding the biscuit pieces that we just cut up to the bottom of my baking dish. To give this pizza some extra flavor, I'm adding a half a teaspoon of some Italian seasoning right on top. Next, you'll want to add about 14 ounces of either pizza sauce or marinara sauce, kind of whatever you have on hand. For the toppings of the pizza, of course, that is totally up to you, but what I added is a couple cups of some mozzarella cheese, a half of a red bell pepper cut into smaller pieces, along with a half of a green bell pepper, some pepperonis, some sharp cheddar cheese, and some Parmesan cheese on top. Those are the last of the toppings that I added. I also added a little bit more Italian seasoning on the very top for some more flavor. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 35 to 45 minutes, or until the biscuits are completely cooked through. If the top of the pizza starts to get a little bit too brown, just place a light sheet of some aluminum foil over the top. But here is the finished product. This pizza bubble up tastes just like a normal pizza. I really love how you could place whatever toppings you like on it. Also, this recipe is extremely easy to half if you want a little bit less of it. These cherry danishes are out of this world, so to get them started in this medium-sized bowl, I'm going to cream together 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1/4 cup of sugar, and a teaspoon of some vanilla extract. Now that this is nicely creamed together, I'm just going to be setting it to the side. I have my sheet pan right here. I just lined it with some parchment paper, and I just have 1 can of biscuits for this recipe. I'm going to be peeling each of these biscuits in half. So these 8 biscuits are going to turn into 16 biscuit halves. I find that it is easiest to peel the biscuits in half with my hands, just like that. With my 4th cup measuring cup, I'm just pressing it down on the center of each of these biscuits. This is going to make a little bit of room in the center of the biscuits for the creamy mixture and the cherries. These danishes are wonderful because you could definitely make them your own. So I'm making cherry danishes. I'm just using this cherry pie filling. You could easily use blueberry pie filling and make blueberry danishes, or raspberry, kind of whatever you like. But with that cream cheese and sugar mixture that we whipped together, I just added a little bit, I'd say about 1 to 2 tablespoons to the bottom of my biscuits. After I was finished with that, I added about 3 cherries to the very top. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until the tops are nice and golden brown. While those are in the oven, I'm going to work on the glaze. This glaze is definitely optional, but I do like making it. It's just going to drizzle on the very top. So I added 3/4 cup of powdered sugar, a tablespoon of softened butter, a couple tablespoons of milk, and a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I just whisked this all together until it was nice and smooth, just like this. But after my danishes are out of the oven, I did let them cool for about 20 minutes, and now I'm just going to be drizzling on that yummy glaze. These are perfect for any occasion. I especially like making them for my family for breakfast or for a dessert. These are so simple to throw together, and they're another one of those recipes that you could hardly tell that you used a can of biscuits with. Now we're making the easiest garlic knots ever. Of course, you're going to be starting with a can of biscuits. You're going to want to cut each biscuit in half and then roll each half into a longer strand, about 6 to 8 inches in length. Of course, you're going to be tying these into knots now, so I'm just tying it into a little knot. I did this with all of my biscuits. If you think this is difficult, I promise you it is not difficult at all. You got this. Now we're going to be making the garlic butter sauce. So in this bowl, I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter. I just added a half a teaspoon of some dried oregano, parsley, and some garlic powder. Lastly, you're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of some Parmesan cheese. Whisk this all together, and there you go. There is your garlic butter Parmesan sauce. So I'm just going to be brushing this on top of all of our garlic knots. These are going to bake in a preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 12 to 18 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown. Once they're out of the oven, what I typically like to do is if I have any of that butter garlic Parmesan sauce left over, I just brush it over the top and then they're ready to serve. These garlic knots have so much great flavor. They're perfect served alone or with a meal. I happen to serve it with our dinner on that night. Just some baked cod and a side salad. I really hope you enjoyed this video today, and on Friday this week I'm posting a new sheet pan video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and I will see you there. Bye for now.